female, grew up in a middle-class family. I have a sister, Elle, who is 3 years older than me. Some of my earliest childhood memories, my parents are characterizing me as the pretty one and Elle as the smart one. Elle has an IQ in the 150 range. She was always at the top of her classes at school with little effort when I struggled to make B's. When it came time for college, Elle was accepted into some of the best schools in the country and ended up enrolling in the top 10 university. While I always kind of wondered how they were affording this, I kind of assumed that they were taking out loans for whatever financial aid didn't cover. However, when I was a senior in high school, I found out how Elle's tuition was being funded. With the inheritance my grandparents left, with the intention it would be used for both of our schooling. Elle had 1 year left at university and the money was nearly gone. They made it clear with my grades they would rather the money go to finish off Elle's undergrad education. I was left with the choice, loans or no school. I ended up working full-time to afford a rented apartment with friends while going to community college nursing school on the side. It took me a little longer, but I graduated with honors. I got a great job at a local hospital and ended up meeting my now husband, who was a second-year general surgery resident at that time, my very first day on the job. Fast forward 8 years. My husband is a surgeon and I went back to school to become a CRNA. We are very comfortable financially, happily married, and I'm pregnant with our first child, a girl. Through this time, I have maintained minimal contact with my parents and sister. I had a ton of resentment and allowed my relationship with them to grow colder over the years. I was aware my sister had gone to get her MA and PhD, though I had no idea how this was funded and I didn't care to ask. About a month ago, I get a call from my mother, who didn't even know I was pregnant. Apparently, my sister is struggling under the weight of multiple private loans while working on an entry-level research job. She is living with my parents, who co-signed the loans, and is having a hard time. She asked if my husband and I would give them a loan to take care of my sister's loans for the next few years and take some pressure off of her. It was pretty clear to me that that loan really meant a gift. I unloaded on her. I told her that I spent my entire childhood being dismissed and ignored while my brilliant sister was put above me constantly. They used my college money on her and I had to take out loans which I paid for myself. So now that their pretty daughter has managed to make something of herself, they have used for her once again to prop up their smart daughter. My mother was crying and saying that this isn't true over and over again. Then my father jumped on the phone and demanded to know what I said to her. I hung up. My husband is very proud of me for standing up for myself and finally speaking about my trauma, which has been weighing on me for years. And while I know it was the right thing, why do I still feel like shit? I imagined this moment 1,000 times, but I also thought it would come with a sense of relief. Now I'm doubting myself and wondering if I made the wrong choice on addressing the problems I have with my mother in such a way. And on the other hand, while I'm not close with my sister, I know she is as much as a victim as I am. She put all her value into being the smart daughter, and look where it got her. I'm extremely conflicted by the whole situation and don't know what to do. Story time about when I accidentally turned myself in for homicide. A few years ago, I was driving in a quiet residential neighborhood late at night to get to a friend's house. Everyone on the streets had their garbage and recycling bins out and one was knocked over with everything spilling out. I tried to dodge it, but I felt my car go over a bump. As I looked in the rearview mirror, I see something that looks like an animal. I immediately stop, and as soon as I open the door, I'm hit by the smell of a skunk. Once I confirm it's dead, I get back to my car and start freaking out. I've never hit anything before, and the idea I just killed something hit me hard. I called my friend to tell him that I'll be a little late, and as soon as he picks up, I start bawling my eyes out. I try to tell him what happened as best I can while crying. My friend asks me if I want him to call someone and I say yes. I'm thinking he means the city or whoever you call to report roadkill. I tell him exactly where I am and he tells me to stay put and he'll call me right back. Less than 10 minutes go by and I hear sirens. Shortly after, police pull up behind me. Ambulance and fire shortly arrive after. Now it's close to 1 a.m. and people are starting to come out of their houses and the street is packed. Police officers are telling me to roll my windows down and looking around my car. Paramedics and firefighters are doing the same thing. Bear in mind the horrendous smell they're all dealing with. They get to my window and I'm still crying but extremely confused, so I start to tell them what happened and they keep asking, where is he? I get out and point to the skunk and all hell breaks loose. They start yelling at me, asking if I'm pranking them and telling me that I committed a crime. Between their disparagements, I realized that they were responding to a homicide. I called my friend and realized that he thought I killed someone. In my distressed state, all he could make out was, oh my god, I hit him, he's dead, oh my god, and lots of crying and swearing. The mix-up had to be explained by everyone around, including all the neighbors that came outside. Police were pissed off and gave me a very long lecture, but ultimately decided not to charge me. The kicker, one of the neighbors heard the story and gave me an odd look and said that the skunk's been there for a few hours. They already left a message about it. The bump was actually from spilled recycling. The police get mad again and eventually yell at me to leave. All in all, it was a valuable learning experience to text when I'm crying. Am I wrong for telling my wife that she will respect our daughter not wanting her to meet her girlfriend because she made it this way? So I have a 16-year-old daughter, Harley. My wife is extremely religious and is very against anything other than what's written in the Bible. I'm still religious, but once Harley arrived, it got me thinking that what if my daughter does something that doesn't fit into my beliefs? My wife, however, is the exact opposite of me. Now the conflict. About a year ago, my daughter said that she likes girls. She told me first, and then we sat my wife down and told her the news. She was not happy with it. My wife didn't say anything to her and just looked disappointed. I was upset at this. As long as her partners aren't hurting her in any way, it's not our place to shame her for that. I told my wife that she cannot try to tear our daughter down just because she doesn't agree, and she's gonna have to make a sacrifice for the sake of our daughter and her well-being and to please make her feel supported. It turns out my wife was going to my daughter and showing her all of these different dating apps with only men, trying to set her up with guys, recommended her to date one of her friend's sons, and even forced her to go out with him. She ended up telling my daughter that she's not normal for this and that she needs to go to confession because this is a phase. This went on for months and I had no idea. She would stop when I was Stopped when I was around, my daughter ended up breaking down, and when I asked her what was going on, she told me everything. To say I was angry would be an understatement. I'm furious at my wife. Honestly, what she did was so outdated and cruel, to the point where I was not sleeping with her and I was sleeping in the guest bedroom for a while. I couldn't even look at her. We went to marriage counseling after this, and my wife hasn't changed much. She still lets these comments slip up, but bites her tongue more, I guess. My daughter got a girlfriend, and she wanted me to meet her. She sat down with both of us and said that she only wanted me to go, and that she doesn't trust my wife enough not to make a comment at this. As I was getting ready, my wife was mad about this, saying that she couldn't believe she could exclude her from this. I said that she shouldn't be. She's made our daughter feel this way, and the only way to fix it is to get over her ridiculous homophobia. I told her she's letting religion get in the way of the love for her daughter, and in a few more years she'll be asking why she doesn't talk to her anymore. I said until she can show our daughter how much we love and support her, she won't interfere with this. This is a step forward for our daughter, and she doesn't get to stomp on that. My wife started crying and stopped speaking to me. She told our therapist this, and he thinks that I was wrong because this is what she grew up on. But I think it's just an excuse for homophobia. My family is also saying that I'm an asshole. So, am I? Child, whenever I was invited to people's houses, my mom told me it was etiquette to eat the food that they made. She would always tell me to put a considerable amount and eat all of it since it would be rude not to. First, she said I would be wasting food, and second, it would seem as if I didn't enjoy the food, which is mean since a lot of effort was put into making it. I've always followed this rule and thought it was true. If I cooked a buttload of food and no one ate it, I'd be heartbroken. My boyfriend of 7 months invited me to his family's Christmas dinner. I've met his parents very briefly, but nothing too formal. Anyway, we get to the food and I was pretty hungry and everything looked really amazing. I made sure to fill my plate, but not overfill, just equal amounts of everything on the table. I ate it all and to be honest, was pretty stuffed. His mother then asked me if I wanted seconds. There was still a lot of food on the table. I took her up on the offer and put a bit more of the pasta salad. My boyfriend gave me a strange look, but I thought nothing of it at the time. Dessert comes and I chose to eat a slice of cheesecake. We then had coffee, all sitting around the fire and telling funny stories. Everyone seemed like in a very good mood and everything was great. After everything, I was honestly so happy because I was worried about dinner and meeting his parents, but I thought that everything went well. We left his parents' house in separate cars as I came directly from my parents' house to him. We reached my apartment and I can tell he's totally pissed off. I asked him what was wrong and he just blew up in my face that I had no manners, telling me he had never seen me eat as much as I did at his parents' house and it was so embarrassing. After further prying, he said that in his culture, when you eat a lot at a person's house, it's disrespectful because you should never go to a house on an empty stomach. He said that it makes a person look desperate and fat. He said on the car ride home, his mom was talking about how embarrassing and unmannered I was to eat so much. I told him that she told me to put seconds and he said that's son to be a good hostess, but a guest should never take up on that offer. He said it would have been fine if I had declined dessert, but since I didn't, I looked even more fat. I explained my reasoning to him and he called that bullshit. I honestly feel terrible, but I told him that if he explained to me beforehand, I wouldn't have eaten so much. He said that he thought it was common knowledge. It's been 2 days and neither of us will really talk until the other apologizes. I know it's petty not to apologize, but I sincerely don't think I did anything wrong. Am I the asshole for eating at my boyfriend's family's Christmas dinner?